Regular board meeting of February 7th will come to order. We'll take a roll call. Ms. Cotter, can you take the roll call?
I will. Thank you. Ms. Cotter is here. Mrs. Grimakowski?
She is not here.
Not here. All right. Mr. Wiseman?
Here.
Mrs. Forrest?
Here.
Mrs. Dodd?
Here.
Mrs. Pastana?
Here.
And Mr. Carlson.
Here.
Thank you.
Please rise if you can. Pledge allegiance is on my right. The audience is left. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, we'll look for approval of the agenda. Item 2A, there is one adjustment right after good and welfare. Item 14 will now be closed session to review a legal memo from our attorney. And then we will look at, so that will be section 14, and adjournment will move to section 15.
So moved.
Moved by Ms. Pastana,
Second.
seconded by Ms. Forrest. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Ayes have it. The agenda is approved. Board President comments. I just wanted to remind the public and update the public. On January 10th, we received board member trustee Jeff Long's resignation. At that point in time, we put together and shared with the community what the process would be to backfilling that position. And on the 21st of January, we received 11 applications. This board, the 6 board members reviewed those applications. And on January 24th, we had a discussion in regards to what candidates we would like to hear from. We selected 4 candidates to come in and have an interview. That interview took place on Wednesday, January 26th. And after interviewing each of the candidates, we went into deliberations. And this board, 5 board members, unfortunately, Ms. Dodd was not able to join us, but 5 board members voted for Amy Grzymkowski. And so she, on February 2nd, started her orientation process with the front office and took her oath. So she is an official board member now. And unfortunately, she could not be here. She had some plans that she had established with her family prior to even applying for the board position. But she did leave a note for me to read this evening, and I'll just take a moment to read that. First, I want to thank my family for their support and encouragement to pursue this open seat on the board. Second, I am humbled and honored to be selected by this Board of Education that had to review and make a decision among 11 very qualified community citizens that came forward to serve. I'm sorry that I will not be in attendance for the board meeting on February 7th, but I had a family commitment that I made prior to the notice of this open board seat. I look forward to joining the other board members at the next regular board meeting on March 7th. I had a chance during the bond passage in 2019 to work with many of the board members who are serving today. I appreciate their public service and know that they are dedicated to putting our students first in every decision. I know that they have faced some tough challenges and decisions in the last 24 months, but they have worked hard to balance learning, social and emotional well-being of students, and the safety of students and staff. As a parent, I may not have agreed with every decision that was made, but I did appreciate that they were making decisions that were upholding local, state, and federal laws and were acting in the best interests of Huron Valley students. I look forward to joining with them and ensuring that we continue to make Huron Valley Schools a destination district. In closing, you have my commitment that I will work tirelessly, in the service of all students who attend Huron Valley Schools, signed Board Trustee Amy Grzymkowski. So I just wanted to read that note from her. And with that, we'll move right into recognitions. I'll turn it over to Superintendent Slaw.
And I will turn it over to Ms. Rutt. Thank you.
Thank you, members of the Board of Education, our COAT team, and members of the community. This evening, it's my honor to actually bring up my colleague, Kevin McKenna. Very often, we have recognized heroes in our community that are external to Huron Valley Schools, but tonight we get to recognize and honor one of our own. So, Mr. McKenna, if you could come on up, that'd be great.
Good evening, everyone. I have the pleasure this evening to honor and recognize Mr. Rick Wank, who is a physical education teacher at Milford High School. I'm proud to announce that Rick has been recognized by the Society of Health Physical Education, SHAPE, as Michigan's 2021 High School Teacher of the Year. Rick joins the ranks of a select group of elite teachers who make a daily difference in the quality of life of his students, colleagues, and community members. The Teacher of the Year acknowledges exceptional contributions in curriculum, teaching methodologies, professional commitment, and the provision of innovation learning experiences. The criteria for this award include the following: 5 years of teaching experience in physical education, conducts a balanced and sequential curriculum that reflects an understanding of a child's growth and development, utilizes various teaching methodologies and plans, innovating learning experiences to meet the needs of all students, serves as a positive role model of personal health and fitness enjoyment of activity, sportsmanship, sensitivity to the needs of our students. And lastly, demonstrates evidence of professional commitment through membership and involvement in local, state, and national organizations. Rick has been a professional teacher for the past 16 years and 13 with Huron Valley Schools. Prior to coming to HVS, Rick worked for the Chicago Public Schools and the Detroit Academy of Arts and Sciences. Rick's contributions to Milford High School extend beyond the classroom. He is a teacher leader who sets an example not just for his students, but for his peers and community. He has taken an active role in professional development with his colleagues, and he took the lead in implementing heart zone monitors in all of his classrooms. This led to Rick applying and receiving a $30,000 grant to purchase heart zone monitors for the entire Huron Valley Schools district. Lastly, Rick is a dedicated father and husband to his children, Colton and Dylan, and his wife, Kyle. Rick demonstrates a healthy, active lifestyle in all aspects of his life. We're not going to get into the details of his hobby of beer making, but he's quite the brewer, if you will. He is a highly effective teacher who strives to improve in all aspects of his profession. He does the best he can with whatever he has and is willing to share with anyone who is also dedicated to providing students with the skills, concepts, and the personal, social opportunities necessary to pursue a healthy, active life. On behalf of the entire staff of Milford High School and the Huron Valley Schools community, I congratulate Mr. Rick Wank on being the 2021 SHAPE Teacher of the Year. Congratulations. Yep. You gonna say a few words? You what? You don't have to. She will.
Mr. McKenna just told me I can say a few words, so I wasn't ready for this, but I just, I got into teaching a long time ago, just thinking about how I could affect people in every day. Okay. And so the number one reason I got into teaching was for relationships. And I believe that that's the best thing you can do as a teacher. Is it may not matter their abilities or their skill level. It's about building that relationship with a student. So when they hear you won the award, you heard from a teacher that I talked to 20 years ago who was a mentor for me. And then you get the kids that call back and say, hey, thank you, or well-deserved. And so those are the relationships that I truly cherish. I appreciate Huron Valley Schools. I appreciate Mr. McKenna giving me the opportunity after leaving Brooks to come to the high school and just flourish and be, so successful up there. So thank you so much. Thank you to you guys for everything you do. Thank you to my wife, Kyle, and my kids. They're my inspiration for every day. So thank you so much.
So, Mr. Wank, it's my honor to bestow this day the honor for excellence and commitment, leading to the recognition for Shape, Michigan as High School Physical Education Teacher of the Year. Thank you for all you do. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Back to you, Dr. Salah.
Thank you, Ms. Rutt. I did have an opportunity to attend the virtual recognition ceremony for Mr. Wink. And I will tell you, what I was most intrigued by was his depth of knowledge and his ability to represent Huron Valley Schools. He did such a nice job articulating the why, the vision for his work, and his inspiration. And I was just really proud to call Rick one of the Huron Valley school staff. So great job, Rick. Very, very proud of you and proud that you're a part of this team. So congratulations to you. With that, I would like to now turn it over to Mr. Tavernier. We're going to highlight our career tech education programs this evening. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. And I'm going to invite the team to come on up to the podium. Sheila Wachowski is our new career technical education coordinator this year to Huron Valley. And we're really fortunate. It's a point of pride for the district that we have a strong career tech ed program from our business marketing and technology team to our construction trades and video production. I know Ms. Wachowski is going to highlight some of those programs and some of the work we do at the K-8 level as well. And then we have Ms. Megan Weeks from Milford High and Mr. Scott Rolando here from Lakeland High to highlight a little bit of their programs. So I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you. Good evening. Thank you for the opportunity to present an outline of our CTE career readiness goals and highlight 2 of our student accomplishments. And I'm sorry, Rose, there we go. Thank you. In our elementary schools, Rose, I don't think this is working for us. Could you skip that slide, please? Thank you. In our elementary schools, kindergarten through 2nd grades are using the Zello platform for each student to complete 2 Career Town activities during their technology elective. Next slide, please. 3rd through 5th grades are also using the Zello platform for each student to complete 2 mission activities during their technology elective. Next slide, please. Oakland schools presented a very successful 5th grade event with their STEMI during the first week of November. Students participated in 4 experiences: autonomous driving, virtual reality, robotics programming, and 3D animation. Next slide, please. 6th through 12th grade students are required to complete a Begin with Your EDP lesson. Next slide, please. An EDP is an educational development plan. Next slide, please. Additionally, we hosted a district-wide college night event at Lakeland High School, which was well attended by students and their parents. It was very beneficial for the students to meet the college recruiters in person. Next slide, please. Tonight, we have 2 amazing high school students, Rachel Martin and Annie Pitcott, that have excelled in their CTE courses, and we would like them to share their work with you.
Good evening. My name is Megan Weeks, and I'm the director of the Milford High School Theater Company and an English and theater teacher at Milford High School. Thank you for inviting us to speak this evening and for allowing us to highlight our amazing CTE program in visual and performing arts at Milford. I'm pleased this evening to be able to introduce Rachel Martin, a senior CTE student with us. Rachel was able to take our first ever stagecraft and technical theater class 3 years ago when we were able to create it, and she's taken it every year since. So she's a 3-year member of that technical class and has grown into a leader in and out of the course. She has served as both a CPA tech intern and student tech director within our program this past year, and she plans to pursue a degree in technical theater. Rachel presented her lighting and design portfolio, which I'm hoping I can show some slides with as she speaks, so you won't hear the actual presentation, but we'll show some of the slides as she speaks, when she attended the Michigan Thespian Festival this past December. She presented it to over 30 colleges, and she earned over $400,000 in scholarship offers from 15 different universities. She was also honored with the prestigious Thespian Scholarship, which is awarded to the top 10 thespians in the state. It is with great pleasure that I pass the mic to her so she can share some of her experiences within our CTE program.
Good evening, and thank you for inviting me to speak tonight. As I speak, you will see some pictures of my lighting designs over the past 3 years. These were presented as part of my scholarship portfolio Ms. Weeks just mentioned. I could not have gotten to this level of achievement without the CTE program in visual and performing arts at Milford High School. This program has gained CTE status my sophomore year, and Milford was then able to offer a stagecraft course. This was so exciting. I finally got to be able to have a class that focused on technical elements in theater. I was able to learn lighting, sound, makeup, set design, stage management, costuming, and sewing. One of my favorite projects has been the Monster Project within the sewing unit. This year, Heritage Junior kindergartners designed a monster on paper, and we had to make it stuffed. So we had to think of the texture of it, the size of it, the colors of it, and we got to actually deliver this to the junior kindergartners right before break. And it was so much fun to see how surprised the kids were. Being a part of this program has allowed me to learn enough to serve in 2 leadership roles. I'm currently a student tech intern for the auditoriums, which means I work with internal and external clients with Ms. Weeks and Sarah Martin to ensure successful events. I have designed lighting and sound, run spotlights, and provided general facility management. I also earned the role of student tech director for the past 4 theatrical productions at Milford High School. This is a role given to a student who excels in the technical areas of lighting and sound. I manage the student tech crew. I ensure all jobs are done professionally and safely. Both of these leadership roles have helped to learn what it takes to be a great employee and technician. I plan to take what I've learned in the CTE program and apply it to the college and professional level. I will be using one of the scholarships I earned at Festival, and I will be attending Northern Michigan University in the fall to study technical theater and design. I hope to become a lighting designer or technical director in the future, and I'm so thankful that I was able to get training now, as I know it has prepared me for the future. Thank you.
I'm Scott Rolando. I'm the student leadership teacher, and I also teach video production and Business 1 and Business 2. And here's tonight, we're here to focus on video production. And Annie Pickcock, who's my rock star of a video production student over here. Video production is one of those courses in CTE. It's one of those programs, I guess, in CTE where it's not necessarily about the degree you have. It's about the knowledge and the experience that you have. And it's about what you've, kind of with the time and effort that you put into editing and shooting and how what your stories are involving and different types of things like that. Our video production program is one of those programs where kids can go, I believe kids can come right out of high school and get a job. And I've had students do that, come right out of high school and get a job working as productions assistants and various things at various television production studios and television stations all across the Metro Detroit area in the last few years. And there's also different programs and things that they could go to even get more experience beyond that. So Annie's one of, like I said, Annie was, she took her basic video, advanced video, and she was advanced video intern this last semester here at Lakeland. And she's put together some great stuff. And we're gonna enter another video, not the one you see tonight. We're gonna enter another video that she's done into a video contest for the Michigan chapter of the Emmy Awards coming up here shortly, and some various things. So I'm gonna let Annie talk a little bit, and then we're gonna see some of her work. So Annie.
Hi, everyone. I'm Annie. And before I start, I just want to say thank you so much to Mr. Rolando. I seriously owe him everything, and it's such an honor to be here talking tonight. So thank you, Mr. Rolando. So yeah, I've taken all of the classes that you can for video, which include basic video, advanced video, and also this past semester, I was an intern for Mr. Rolando and his video classes. The first two classes I took, basic and advanced, really taught me the importance of how to edit and film a good video. I learned how to use a camera, control volumes on mics, what's the best lighting, angles, and also what all the ways to edit. One of my favorite things I got to do was to help out with Good Morning Lakeland, which is our school's morning video announcements. It was the closest thing that I got to a real TV recording experience, and I got to work with amazing people, and I really loved it. The intern aspect for me really taught me more of my communication and social skills. It helped me interact with people who I may never have met before, and also helped me to learn and work through difficult situations. Also, by being an intern, I've gotten to meet so many amazing, incredible people and also very smart people, and gotten so many opportunities that I would never have with a regular class. Some of them have really helped me step out of my comfort zone, such as being here tonight. I never thought that I would be doing this, but here I am. And if there's one thing Mr. Rolando taught me, it's that if you never step out of your comfort zone, you will never grow as a person. And these are exactly what these CTE classes do. They help you grow as a person, no matter what your future will look like. So I'm so grateful that I took these classes and all the growth that has come from them. So thank you so much for listening, and I hope that you like this short clip. Thanks.
The pride of coming with you wearing this uniform and being able to say you did it is amazing. So if you have any thoughts about joining or anything, I would strongly recommend by keeping that and going with it, because the pride you feel will never go away. So thank you.
Veterans, thank you for your sacrifice and your service, and may God bless America.
Thank you, Rachel and Annie, for sharing your impressive work with us tonight. And thank you to the board as well for the opportunity to present to you this evening. Do you have any comments or questions for us?
Ms. Cotter.
Yes, thank you. I just want you to know how much I appreciate you coming tonight and sharing. I've often been very proud that Huron Valley has supported our career tech ed programs, and I'm glad that you were able to come tonight. In fact, in preparing for the meeting, I had to Google Zello What a wonderful program, and I'm so glad that it's starting right out with kindergartners. Thank you so much for what you do. Obviously, the two products you brought here tonight certainly are examples of everyone's fine work. Thank you, kids. Good job.
Yeah, I think the thing that I appreciate about this program is that it doesn't matter if it's college bound or career bound. It's for everybody, and to give you an opportunity to actually do a job that is like a real job is pretty impressive. I saw Rachel and how much responsibility and what a great leader she was during the show this fall. And it's pretty impressive. Not many students have an opportunity to be able to really feel the pressure and show the leadership like you can in this program. So great job. Congratulations.
Ms. Forrest.
Yes, I agree with everything that was also said, but I also would like to thank our CTE teachers. In this case, that would be Mr. Rolando and Ms. Weeks. It's oftentimes, maybe sometimes difficult to get career and tech teachers because there's different guidelines for which they need to be employed. And, sometimes we can't compete with salaries that are out there in the private sector and the public sector. So, kudos really to all of our CTE folks in our district, because without them, we have these wonderful kids that are taking full advantage of the programs we have to offer. And good luck to both of you. You're going to be stellar no matter what you do in life. So congratulations.
Mr. Weissman.
Yes, I too want to say thank you and how much I appreciate and respect the work that you've done. I think this is a perfect example of applied education opportunities where school is much more than just opening up a textbook. It's really the application of what you've learned and put those skills to work. And the skills that you've obtained here in Huron Valley Schools has already led to a lot of opportunities that you wouldn't have and other students wouldn't have had. I think two comments. Annie, you mentioned Mr. Rolando taking you out of your comfort zone. I just can imagine how CTE has changed over the last 5 years. And you too have taken Mr. Rolando and Ms. Weeks out of their comfort zone because you've pushed the envelope with your knowledge and your skills. And I appreciate that because we're all in this together and we learn from you just as much as you learn from them. So I appreciate that. And I'm just curious, I think it was Rachel, you made a comment about the junior kindergarten coming up with some sort of design and you had to present it. I'm curious, can you explain what that design was and what was some of the reactions from the junior kindergartners?
Yeah, so the kindergartners were given a specific shape. It was either a triangle, a square, or a circle, and they basically got to do whatever they want with it. The only requirements were it has to have an eye, a few arms, maybe some legs, some hair, and we basically took their vision and tried to make it into an actual object. So the monster I designed, it was this multicolored monster with crazy hair, blue eyes, a few legs, and it was so much fun to walk into the class because we had them in these gift bags, so they already didn't know what they looked like, and they drew them a while back. So most of them probably forgot that they drew it, and we put the picture in with the monster, and they all opened them at the same time. And it was just so much fun to watch them because they were so happy and surprised that it just brought joy to all the high schoolers who made them.
So each of the students received their own personal monster.
Yes.
Oh, wonderful. It must have been a great day for not only them, but for the students that made them. So thank you both. Thank you for the CTE program and your instructors. I appreciate it.
Thank you for the comments. And I just wanted to say what a great demonstration this evening of inspiring and building futures one student at a time. So thank you for bringing this forward to us. Thank you. Dr. Salah, I'll turn it back over to you.
Thank you. Appreciate you guys being here this evening. Wonderful job and a great demonstration of the work that we do every single day. Great job. Thank you.
All right, items from the superintendent, item 3.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have 2 items this evening. One, just a quick security update. As I have shared with the board and our listening audience, in the past, we'll provide periodic updates as we move forward. As you know, we've hired a firm that is assisting us in conducting a security audit. That work is proceeding as I shared and discussed at the last board meeting. We had recon management, excuse me. We had recon management in the district today at our board office, spending some time conducting interviews with a variety of staff throughout the district, ranging from looking at our maintenance and operations infrastructure to our technology infrastructure to interviewing our school liaison officers as well as Ms. Rutt. So I feel like we're making appropriate progress there. There will be a deep dive at each of the buildings, and I expect that we'll have some sort of a report to share with the board sometime in April or perhaps early May. I think it's important to note that, while I expect, we will hear some of the wonderful and positive things that we've accomplished over the last decade since the last time we had a security audit, we will hear about some of our opportunities for growth as well. What's important to note as it relates to opportunities for growth, we're not going to broadcast our opportunities for growth to the community. Obviously, that's something that we would want to work on internally, and we don't want to broadcast potential vulnerabilities. So I just think that's an important piece of information is, to be as transparent as possible, but at the same time, we're not going to share areas that need to be improved. We're just going to improve them in order to keep our students and staff safe and protected. So the other item I have this evening, Mr. President and board members, is I just wanted to share, over the last week, in the media, there was some prevalence around an initiative that made its way through the legislature and was vetoed by the governor. And what it relates to is essentially a voucher program designed really, rather than calling them vouchers, the legislature is disguising this particular initiative under the auspices of scholarships. But at the end of the day, the intention is to take public school dollars and send them to parochial and non-public schools, which is a clear violation of the Michigan Constitution. I think it's important to note that 2 decades ago, former U.S. Department of Education Secretary Betsy DeVos backed a failed ballot initiative that was actually put in front of all of you. It was put in front of the voters. And the question was, do we create a voucher program that takes public school dollars and sends them to private schools? And I will tell you that that ballot initiative failed by 69%. So the voters spoke on this issue, and they continue to support the way with which the Michigan Constitution existed. And I think that's important because in order for local school districts to provide a free and appropriate education to all general education and all special education students, we need every dollar that we are provided. As you know, public schools have struggled financially for at least the last 10 to 12 years. We have a meager foundation allowance that we've used to pay for transportation, unfunded mandates, including an array of special education costs that were supposed to be funded at 40% and to this day are funded at 14% of our total dollar amount. We spend millions of dollars from the general fund each year to continue to support all of our children, including our most vulnerable populations. So this initiative is essentially seeking to circumvent the voters again. And essentially what is being attempted is DeVos and company are trying to circumvent the ballot initiative process and collect 340,000 signatures over the next 180 days in order to present the possibility of implementing these scholarship initiatives. And so essentially this initiative is designed to attain the number of signatures that are required. And then if the House and the Senate both approve this initiative, it does not have to go to the governor, and they can avoid the veto power of the governor, essentially the checks and the balances that exist. And what's more troubling to me is that it can also avoid putting this very question in front of the voters. The voters spoke 2 decades ago. Why not let the voters speak again? If it's a question that you want to re-ask, then let's ask the citizens of this state to answer that question. And so I think it's important for the listening audience to be aware that this is out there. If you're asked to if you're asked to sign, I would ask you to ask a lot of questions and really unpack what's included here. These are not scholarships. These are dollars that are designed to funnel monies away from public school systems in order to provide dollars for parochials. According to the Senate Fiscal Agency, this would pull about $1 billion annually after 5 years of implementation. $1 billion annually out of the school aid fund. I would just leave with my question is if we are interested in hearing from the public, then a ballot initiative should be put forward for the voters to make the decision, not 340,000 signatures on a petition. And that concludes my comments, Mr. President. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Slaw. All right, items from the board. Madam Secretary.
I have no correspondence to share tonight.
All right,
Thank you.
thank you. Madam Treasurer.
Nothing tonight.
Vice President Forrest.
Nothing for me either.
Trustee Weissman.
No comments?
Trustee Dodd.
Nothing from me. Thank you.
Okay. Student leadership comment? Don't believe we have. Association comment?
Good evening. I first want to take this opportunity to welcome Amy Grzymkowski to the Board of Education. I didn't realize she wasn't going to be here, so hopefully she can hear this. I was present at the board interviews and had the opportunity to hear all 4 candidates. I learned a lot about Ms. Grzymkowski through listening to her thoughtful answers and was especially struck by her description of how to take a vision from an idea into fruition, and her discussion of wanting to be a bridge builder across the HVS community. I look forward to getting to know her and working with her on the board. As we have recently completed the first semester of this school year, I want to take a moment to mark this passage of time. As it has been said many times before, this year, in many ways, is more challenging than last year. This statement is so incredibly hard to believe, but it has been said dozens to me across the district over and over this school year. As we move into the second semester, it's a relief to me, as my end of school year countdown shows us more than halfway through this difficult year. It's been quite a year so far, not only for our educators, but for all our staff across Huron Valley. There are very real reasons why across the country we read about the exhaustion and ongoing stress of school staff this year. With continuous COVID cases in both staff and students, the struggle of students with behavioral challenges, mental health concerns, and staff shortages due to unfilled positions, lack of guest teachers, COVID quarantines, our days are harder and longer than ever before. Having a career in public education at the moment is a very difficult place to be. Across the country, brand new educators each month struggle to pay their rent and car payments
as they also work to pay back student loans. Veteran teachers who are close to retirement are making the difficult choice to decide if they are emotionally and physically able to stay in a career that they love for another year, or is it time to consider moving on? And many of the other educators in between those years, they spend their sleepless nights debating if this is the right career path for them, and would they be less stressed and make more money working in a different district or a different career. On top of everything, as we were approaching the second anniversary of when our schools shut down in March of 2020, we are all reminded that this is the third school year being impacted by COVID. Regardless of our feelings about masks and vaccines, all of us in this community have been significantly impacted by these 3 years. But there are some glimmers of hope, and we will get through this school year day by day. The other day I read a quote by Booker T. Washington that said, quote, "If you want to lift yourself up, lift up someone else." So during this dreary, snowy, cold month of February, if you are looking to lift yourself up, consider lifting up somebody else. And I offer our Huron Valley staff to you. A thank you email, a voicemail, a supportive note sent into school, a picture drawn and signed by our students, a positive social media post, a flowering plant, or perhaps a bar of chocolate, or we all know we love caffeinated drinks. Anything that lets us know that you see us, you recognize how incredibly hard we are all working, and you value us for what we do each day to contribute to the success of our Huron Valley students. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Now move to public comment. I believe most of the public comments deal with non-agenda items. Just want to make sure they do. Okay. So we will now move to reports from the board committees. Executive committee. So the executive committee met. We met on January 31st, on Monday at 9:30 at the administrative offices. Myself, Denise Forrest, Tom Weissman, Dr. Salah, Jeffrey Van Gotham, Relisha, Glover Payne, John Reby, and TMP representatives were in attendance. There was no public comment. We discussed the agenda items for this February 7th board meeting. We had a discussion on property sales, which is on the agenda this evening. Furniture bid from our TMP representatives. We had a discussion on marketing and advertising in the hallways and at the field houses. We also discussed pool and fitness hours in regards to some of the recent changes during school hours. And we had a discussion on compensation study that will go out for the district. And then we also had a discussion on Board of Directors election for the MASB Board of Directors, Region 8, which comprises of Macomb, Wayne Risa, and Oakland schools. And that is on the agenda. I think we have 3 candidates in front of us. And then we also talked about Title IX and non-discrimination policies from Neola, and we adjourned at 11:05. TLT.
All right, TLT met on February 4th at 10 a.m. The meeting was called to order at 10:04. Present, myself, Lindsay Cotter, Denise Pastana, John Trevernier, Dr. Sala, Jennifer Bjorkman, Lena Nemeth, Terry Thompson, Dr. Cohen, and student leaders Haley Greenshields, Jamie Jackson, and Fletcher Smith. We had no public comment on our regular agenda. Sr3 planning. The elementary and secondary school emergency relief, ESSER funds are a part of the Federal American Rescue Plan pandemic relief program. Mrs. Bjorkman shared how the district has sought input from all stakeholders through various forums, including district board committee meetings, district parent council, and through surveys shared through the Friday Forum. Meaningful consultation with all stakeholders will continue with a presentation at the board meeting tonight, where additional public input is welcome. The plan must be submitted to the Michigan Department of Education by February 15th, 2022. Next item was OCR Resolution Agreement. Huron Valley Schools was one of 24 districts selected in the country for a review of seclusion and restraint policies and practices from 2017 through 2019 by the Office of Civil Rights. As a part of this review, Mrs. Thompson shared how data was collected and reviewed, including IEPs, METSs, SR documentation, district forms, maps of schools, pictures of seclusion spaces, training materials, and interviews with several staff and administrators. Through this process, it was noted that not all state agencies required the same level of collection and reporting of the data. Specifically, the Center for Educational Performance and Information, CEPI, required all incidents of SR to be reported, whereas the Department of Education required the reporting of emergency situations. Through collaboration with CEPI, MDE, and legal counsel, changes were recommended to develop common language and expectations for LEAs. As a result, HVS entered into a resolution agreement to update policy, revise forms, standardize documents, continue training for key personnel, and enhance monthly monitoring. It was noted that all key personnel used research-based strategies and are trained biannually in nonviolent crisis intervention developed by the Crisis Prevention Institute. C, mid-year benchmark reports. Mrs. Nemeth shared the results of the mid-year goal reporting as part of the school aid section 98B. The district has identified growth goals for students in grades K through 8 in both reading and math. In review of these results, the committee noted that HVS trend data is tracking pre-pandemic national normed data and continues to outpace state normed data, both pre and post-pandemic. This report is available for the public to view on the district transparency reporting page. We discussed a Chromebook purchase. As part of the bond program, we're planning to move forward with one-to-one availability of devices for every student. Currently, all students in grades 6 through 12 have access to a Chromebook. With the purchase of 2,000 Chromebooks and 40 carts this summer, each elementary classroom will have a cart of Chromebooks available for student use. It was recommended to move this purchase request to new business. B, under other alternative credit options, the committee reviewed language in the course catalog and in Board Policy 5127 as it relates to alternative credit options. Administration will be reviewing procedures to ensure consistent application of these alternatives, specifically in waiver of physical education half-credit graduation requirement. Progress on this work will be brought back to the committee in a future meeting. We also discussed the IDEA resolution. Dr. Sala has shared a draft of a resolution in support of additional funding to support implementation of IDEA. This item will appear on the March 7th agenda. Future meetings, the February 18th meeting will be moved and the March 4th meeting has been canceled. We adjourned at 11:55 a.m. and the next meeting is to be determined because we haven't figured it out yet, but we will share that as soon as we have a date. Meeting was adjourned at 11:55 a.m.
All right, thank you. Finance and Operations Committee, Ms. Pastana.
Yes, Finance and Operations met Wednesday, February 2nd at 2:30. It was a virtual meeting. Present were myself, Mr. Wiseman, Ms. Cotter, Dr. Salah, Mr. Van Gotham, Mr. Tavernier, Ms. Bjorkman, Mr. Reby, Ms. Kerrigan, Ms. Maruskin, Ms. Timberlake, Mr. Rogers, and Mr. Wenrick. There was no public comment. First discussion was Sr3 Survey Results. Jennifer Bjorkman's presentation included a review of feedback collected and recommendations. Data gathered from our Sr3 survey and meaningful consultation during meetings regarding use of funds will guide our Sr3 plan of use and budget. We reviewed the meetings. There are no regular consent agenda items. Unfinished business, we talked about the vacant land offer. Jeffrey had shared thoughts from executive committee meeting on Monday, And the decision was to move forward with bringing this to the board meeting. I think we have an updated packet on everybody's place. The next thing we talked about was Bid Pack 5, General Trades Update. Don Rogers of Clark Construction shared that the subsequent board award, it was determined that the awarded vendor could not meet the requirements of the signed contract for bid category 06A.2, General Trades / Carpentry. The district sent a termination letter, which vendor signed, and will award contract to the second lowest responsive and responsible bidder. The change is $104,220 and was added to the overall increase to award amount. We are asking that the board approve the modified awarded contracts to multiple contractors as noted on Clark's Construction's recommendation letter dated February 2nd, 2022, in the amount of $31,108,219. This project is funded from the 2020 Capital Projects Fund. Committee board members have asked that we also have our attorneys get it in writing that we are not to use said awarded vendor for future projects in the district. Bid Pack 5, Asbestos Abatement Contract. John Reby spoke on behalf of Asbestos Abatement, providing the removal of select flooring, caulk, exterior panels, designated doors, and partial insulated mechanical fittings. This work is required to complete the bond remodeling work at each school. We are asking the board to award contracts to Qualified Environmental, which was the low bidder, as noted in Nova Environmental's recommendation letter dated January 26, 2022, for $41,200 and a 12% contingency in the amount of $4,900 for unseen items. The project is funded from the 2020 Capital Projects Fund. We talked about the Chromebook purchase. John Tavernier spoke of recommendations to approve the purchase of 2,000 Chromebooks and 40 carts in the amount of $568,000 plus a 10% contingency to be purchased from REMC device purchasing contract. The funds for these purchases are budgeted in the 2020 bond funds. And as Ms. Dodd said, this would fulfill the goal of one-to-one device availability for each student in the district. There was no new business, and the meeting adjourned at 4:05 p.m. Our next meeting is March 2nd at 10 a.m.
Thank you. Now move to Communications, Marketing, and Legislative.
Thank you, Mr. Carlson. Yes, we did meet on February 4th, last Friday at 8:30 a.m. at the admin building. Present were myself, board members Laura Dodd, Tom Wiseman. Also in attendance, Dr. Salah, Ms. Glover Payne, Ms. Shannon Loso, Laura Colvin, and Kim Roop. No public comment. We had a legislative update. Trustee Dodd provided some insight into the school voucher petition that Dr. Salah just spoke about. Let my, M-I as in Michigan, Let My Kids Learn, spearheaded by Betsy DeVos and the DeVos family. Dr. Salah shared that the K-12 Alliance has designated this effort as a significant threat to the viability of public schools. And I appreciate Dr. Salah addressing this tonight. He gave a very in-depth description of what all this entailed. So thank you for that. In addition, Trustee Dodd noted the introduction of Michigan House Bill 5722, which is intended to require Michigan's public schools to publicly list all curriculum, books, literature, writing assignments, and planned field trips before each school year begins. And then Dr. Salah updated the group regarding the transportation categorical in which Huron Valley Schools is working with Senator Runstead's office to secure. And a final piece of information, the superintendent presented a resolution from the board's for the board's consideration calling for full funding of the IDEA Act. And this resolution will be presented at the March 7th board meeting. We received a Pools and Fitness update from Shannon Loso regarding the new hours for Pools and Fitness. She highlighted the services that are being offered and noted the various types of communication shared with patrons and included a sample below, which you can find the information on our website. And advertising opportunities, committee liaison Kim Root is working to update the district's advertising and sponsorship opportunities to include a digital sign and to include our digital signage in public spaces. Trustee Dodd offered to assist with this effort. Thank you, Trustee Dodd. Advertising, okay. Current campaigns, communications manager Laura Coven highlighted the kindergarten and junior kindergarten enrollment materials currently being updated in order to drive registration for both of those programs for next school year. We received a security update, and Ms. Root did note that the recon management folks will begin its interviews and security assessments next week. The security firm will present a report to the board at a future meeting. Ms. Root also noted the schedule for the run and hide training in the district. Thank you to Ms. Root for scheduling all that and rescheduling those that fell to the side during our snow days last week. And the meeting was adjourned at 9:55 a.m. Our next meeting will be held March 4th at 8:30 a.m. the school board office administration building. Thank you.
Thank you. I believe the arts, athletics, and activities was canceled. We had a snow day.
We will be rescheduling very shortly. Mr. Tavernier and I will be doing that. So hopefully within the next week or two.
Okay. I also want to take this opportunity, send a communication out to the board members, but just as a reminder, with Mr. Long's resignation and Ms. Grzymkowski's membership on the board now, the finance and operation will continue to be chaired by Ms. Pastana. Mr. Weissman will remain on that committee, and then Ms. Cotter will be joining that committee. The Communications, Marketing, and Legislative Committee will be chaired by Ms. Forrest. Ms. Dodd will remain on that committee, and Ms. Grzymkowski will be on that committee. So those are the new committee assignments. With that, we'll now move to agenda item 9, consent agenda. We have a motion. Mr. Weissman.
Yes, I move that the Board of Education approve the consent agenda items A1 through A3 as presented.
I'll support.
Supported by Ms. Dodd. Any discussion? I know they're consent agenda items, so we will take a roll call vote. Ms. Cotter.
Thank you. Mr. Wiseman.
Yes.
Mrs. Dodd.
Yes.
Ms. Cotter is a yes. Mrs. Forrest.
Yes.
Mrs. Pastana.
Yes.
And Mr. Carlson.
Yes.
All right. Thank you.
Sufficient voting in the affirmative. The resolution passes. All right. We'll now move to unfinished business. Item A, furniture. Is that Jeffrey?
Yeah, it's Jeffrey.
Thank you, Board President Carlson. With respect to the contract award for furnishings, the scope of the work for the 2020 bond proceeds indicates new furnishings for classrooms, media centers, welcome centers, cafeteria, and other miscellaneous spaces. If you recall, earlier this year in December of our school year, we awarded a majority of our furniture for the Bid Pack 5 work. What was not awarded was some specialty items that includes media center shelving, early childhood furniture, and special education chairs. We went through our process with our vendors, and we plan on asking for this evening an award totaling $526,660, which includes $501,580.80 and a 5% contingency for $25,079.04. I think it's important to note that after this purchase, we will still be to the good over $384,000 from the original bond estimate in our bond document that was sent to the state of Michigan versus actual spend after Bid Pack 4 and 5. Furnishings alone, yes, sir.
All right, good. Can I get a motion first on this item, and then we'll open it up for discussion?
Sure. I'm going to move that we support the furniture as part of the Bid Pack.
Okay. Do I have a second?
I'll second. I'll second.
Ms. Pastana. Any Any discussions, comments, questions for Mr. Van Gotham? Ms. Cotter?
Just a comment, this came to us through the Finance Committee, and we had an opportunity to talk with the sales rep, and she assured us that our media techs were able to meet with her and kind of look through the order and personalize them for their own media centers. So I think that was very well accepted by the staff, and I was glad they had the opportunity to do that.
Okay.
I'm noticing the audience people can't hear.
Or maybe pull that a little bit closer, the microphone. There you go.
Here we go. I just wanted to comment regarding the purchase of the furniture, that at the finance meeting, I had an opportunity to talk with our sales rep, and she assured us that she also had an opportunity to meet with our media techs, and they were then able to meet with her and personalize some of the purchase items for their own media center. And I think that they were very happy to have that opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, we'll go ahead and move for a roll call vote.
Okay, Ms. Cotter is a yes. Mrs. Pastana?
Yes.
Mr. Wiseman?
Yes.
Mrs. Dodd?
Yes.
Mrs. Forrest?
Yes.
And Mr. Carlson?
Yes.
Thank you.
Motion passes. All right, we'll now move to, I believe this is Bid Pack 5, General Trades Update.
We had the opportunity to meet with the executive committee as well as finance and operations. And obviously the scope of work for Bid Pack 5 includes entry additions, classroom gym additions, and interior remodeling at Heritage Spring Mills, Country Oaks, Kurtz Elementary, and the Apollo Early Childhood Center. We had awarded those contracts again before the December break. Unfortunately, one of the vendors in our general trades section is not able to meet the requirements of the bid that they had sent into us. So we worked with our legal counsel who is providing us with a termination letter. We are going to put in writing that they no longer work with us going forward. We are looking at additional remedies that may be available to the district, but we're not final on what those could be. I think our best bet for the district in moving forward and securing materials is to go with the next lowest responsible and responsive bidder. So the Clark construction team, who we've worked with obviously for the last several years on this project, is recommending the second lowest bidder. They were actually the bidder that secured the other half of this work within the district. They have the ability to procure materials for us in a timely manner. These are essential pieces, including entrances to the schools and doors for our classrooms, which are necessary for fire inspection approval of any new construction or remodeling. So we are taking their recommendation. Again, we are asking for an additional $104,220 from the board to secure this additional bid. And that is what is before you this evening.
Okay, before any discussion, we'll get a motion on this. Mr. Weissman.
Yes, I move that the Board of Education approve the modified awarded contracts to multiple contractors as noted on Clark Construction's recommendation letter dated February 2nd, 2022 as presented.
Is there support?
Support.
Supported by Ms. Forrest. Any comments or questions for Mr. Van Gotham? Ms. Dodd.
Jeffrey, I feel like I heard you say, having the same contractor do all of this, it's a lot of folks. They're confident they have the manpower or woman power to do this?
Yes, they do.
Okay, great.
Any other questions or comments? Mr. Weissman.
Yes, I do want to note and reiterate what Jeffrey had made a comment regarding this contract and the fact that we have already awarded the contract to another construction company, and they have, after we awarded it, chose not to perform. And both executive and finance and operations had a very lengthy conversation as it relates to the process and what we as a school district could do via our legal counsel to demonstrate the seriousness of this and to make certain that there's remedies in place so that that contractor is noted, and also for other vendors to recognize that we do take their contract seriously and that there are remedies that we as a school district will take without compromising the timing of the construction projects. So I just want to make sure that that is noted.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, we'll move for a roll call vote.
Mr. Wiseman.
Yes.
Mrs. Forrest.
Yes.
Ms. Cotter is a yes. Mrs. Dodd.
Yes.
Mrs. Pastana.
Yes.
And Mr. Carlson.
Yes.
Thank you.
Motion passes. We'll now move to items 10C, Bid Pack 5 asbestos abatement. Mr. Van Gotham.
Thank you, President Carlson. So the scope of work for Bid Pack 5 asbestos abatement, as Ms. Pastana alluded to in Finance and Operations minutes, includes removal of select flooring, caulk, exterior, transite panels, designated doors, and partial insulated mechanical fitting removal. This work is required to complete the bond remodeling work at each school. This actually, in a lot of cases, takes place before some of our vendors even get into our building to do some of the major renovations that will take place this summer through the fall. We actually had Nova Environmental, which is one of our service providers, handle the bidding on this for us. We did approach our cooperative partnership, and at this point, we are not doing asbestos abatement in our cooperative or consortium group. Nova Environmental handled this for us. We actually had 4 bidders, and for all projects, Qualified Environmental was our lowest responsible and responsive bidder. Each of these contracts by themselves is even less than a normal bid threshold, but we did have them follow the typical bid process that we do as a district. So in total, we're asking for $41,200 be awarded to Qualified Environmental to handle the projects at Spring Mills, Kurtz, and Apollo. It should be important to note that Heritage and Country Oaks were built after asbestos was really a challenge for districts, and we are not needing to do any asbestos abatement in those buildings when we renovate them this spring and summer. So we're asking for the $41,200 for the bid award, as well as $4,900 for unforeseen items. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Can I get a motion? Ms. Dodd.
I move that we accept the bid from, or move forward with the company Quality Environmental for the asbestos abatement on.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'll support that. I'll support that, Laura.
Ms. Pastana supported. Any comments or questions for Jeffrey on this? Mr. Weissman.
Yes, I think from a public standpoint, people get concerned when we talk about asbestos. We have a management plan as it relates to asbestos that is constantly reviewed, and the amount of asbestos in our buildings is minimum, because every time we do some construction within this bond issue, just like we're doing within this action item, we remove it. Any existing asbestos that we still have in our building is contained, is safe, and is managed accordingly.
That is correct. And if you recall, for the 4 buildings that we did in the previous summer, this past summer, the work was well over $175,000. So this is, again, much substantially less in scope than the original 4 buildings. And I'm happy to report that, again, 2 of the 5 that we're going to be working on do not even require any asbestos abatement, because they've been built in a time frame that wasn't, it was already taken care of before we even built the building. So
thank you. Thank you for those comments, Mr. Weissman. Ms. Dodd.
So I know last year asbestos abatement was one of the things that made the construction process go long, because we have to do that first. I'm hearing that they would like to start some of it before the kids are even out of the school. That all fits into, we have some work that can start before the asbestos abatement and then move forward from there. Am I understanding that properly?
yeah, so again, Ms. Dodd, the scope is substantially less than it was in the prior year. So we're actually slated to start some of the Spring Mills work, again, in a safe environment where our students and teachers are safe, as early as in the next couple weeks, because it's done outside, away from the actual interior. And so as soon, again, with the blessing of the board, we will start moving on some of these projects as soon as it's reasonably possible. Again, with, as Mr. Wiseman mentioned, with safety being at the forefront and following our overall district plan to make sure that our staff and students, remain harmless as a result of it.
So just for clarifying purposes, the abatement is outside of the building.
So for Spring Mills in particular, Mr. Carlson, yes,
Okay.
the project that they would be able to feel comfortable starting within the next couple of weeks would be outside work that will have no impact to teaching and learning.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, we'll move to a roll call vote.
Mrs. Dodd,
Yes.
Mrs. Pastana,
Yes.
Mr. Wiseman,
Yes.
Ms. Forrest,
Yes.
Ms. Cotter is a yes, Mr. Carlson.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, motion passes. We'll now move to new business. Item A, MASB Board of Directors election. I believe we received, was it 4 candidates altogether. So we all had an opportunity, and this is for the Michigan Association School Board, Region 8 representative. We have 4 candidates. So we need to vote for one of those 4 candidates tonight. Does anybody want to make a nomination?
I will make that nomination. I move that the Board of Education vote for Darlene Pomponio in the MASB Board of Directors election. It's a 3-year term.
And I'll support that one.
All right, so motion moved by Ms. Forrest, supported by Ms. Cotter. And I believe she is the current representative as well. Is that correct?
She's the incumbent.
Okay. All right. Are there any other nominations or discussions on this? Okay, we'll go ahead and move for a roll call vote to approve. Go ahead, what was the name?
Darlene Pomponio. Darlene Pomponio.
Okay. Roll call vote, Ms. Cotter.
All right, Mrs. Forrest,
Yes.
Ms. Cotter is a yes, Mr. Wiseman,
Yes.
Mrs. Dodd,
Yes.
Mrs. Pastana,
Yes.
and Mr. Carlson.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, so, and then Ms. Hill, will you reach out to MASB and let them know Huron Valley voted for Darlene? Thank you. All right, SR3 update, Exhibit F.
Yeah, this evening we're going to review the process that the district has taken for reviewing the SR3 funding and budgeting of that of those funds. So the SR3 funding, Rose, the next page, thank you, is federal funds that's part of the American Rescue Plan. ESSER stands for Elementary and Secondary School Emergency Relief Fund, and this is the third package that came through in the bill that was passed back in 2021. The allocation of funds to local districts is based on the Title I formula, so that's weighted based on need and level of poverty across school districts in the state of Michigan. Huron Valley has been allocated just under $5 million as part of SR3 funding. The funds must be used for allowable expenses established under the CARES Act, and we'll be reviewing that this evening. 20% of SR3 funds must be set aside for learning loss. And specifically, and I know it's hard to read on this slide, but specifically I'll read this. Of the total amount allocated to a local educational agency, the state's ARP ESSER award, the LEA must reserve at least 20% of funds to address learning loss through the implementation of evidence-based intervention to ensure that the interventions respond to students' needs, social, emotional, and academic needs, and address the disproportionate impact of COVID-19 on underrepresented student subgroups. So that's a really important part of the way the funds are made available and also the way our title funding works from the federal level. So questions around what are allowable expenses, and to be honest, there's a lot of opportunity. There is a lot of need across districts in the state of Michigan, but the United States Department of Education has released 5 questions that districts should consider when evaluating whether or not the proposed spending for ESSER funds is an allowable expense. Question number 1, will the proposed use of funds prevent, prepare for, and respond to the coronavirus pandemic? Number 2, is it an allowable use of fund under the CARES Act? So that was the original allocation of funds. Is it reasonable and necessary? So is the funds being used for something in the district that is reasonable and necessary? Does it promote equity across our district? And does it support the returning of students to the classroom? So those are the 5 areas that we review or need to be asked as we're reviewing the potential expenditure of funds. So the other important part about this is to have a meaningful consultation with all stakeholders, and that includes our staff, of course, administrators, students, parents, and the community. And so we've taken a number of steps to ensure that we've gathered information from various stakeholders, and we started this work back in November. So on November 5th, the Teaching, Learning, and Technology Board Subcommittee was presented with the parameters that I just outlined in the use of the ESSER3 funds and information about the survey. The District Parent Council received the same information at its November 8th meeting. The needs assessment survey for ESSER3 funds were sent to all district staff and community stakeholders via our Friday form, and that was sent out on 2 of our Friday forms in November, seeking input from the public. After we've collected that data, we reviewed it, shared that information with a number of different groups across the district, and part of that presentation is tonight's meeting and dialogue. So let's go into the next slide here. It provides some of the survey results that we received from that. We had over 200 folks respond. You can see large part of that was current or former employees in the district. We also had a number of community members, about 24 members of the community. We had about 23 teachers respond, and we had school support staff, 10 school support staff. We also had a few students that responded, and a few school administrators also took part of the survey. And as we dig in further within the results, we had about 12 people working with our early childhood, birth to pre-kindergarten age students, roughly 120 individuals at the elementary level, 84 at the middle school, 76 at the high school, and we had 3 respondents working with post-secondary students. In addition, you saw that it really was focused on our subpopulations, and so part of the survey was to capture the demographics of those respondents. We had 22 staff or respondents that have either English language learners in their home, or staff that work with our EL students, 18 working with homeless students, 13 with students in foster care. 55 individuals responded with working with students in special education, 46 with 504 plans, and 37 with students that are economically disadvantaged. And within the allowable uses, we asked staff responding to the survey to pick the top 3 areas that they felt were the most in need, or most areas of need, and these are listed here on this slide. So the top, the area where we saw the most responses, or most people picked as an area of need, was to use the funds to support staff to help accelerate learning and reduce learning gaps. And we know that is probably no surprise to anybody here, that that's something that is certainly a need as we come out of this pandemic and addressing students' needs. And the second one is social emotional supports and training for our students and our staff working with students in need. Number 3 was other activities necessary to maintain the operation and continuity of services. An example of this, as the board knows, in the community, the beginning of the year, we were struggling with transportation and being able to provide daily transportation to all students. And so this would be an area here where we could use those funds to support things like busing, summer school, and attracting and retaining highly qualified staff. Rounding out the rest of this list, number 4, additional learning time to accelerate learning. And that could be through before and after school programs, and also our summer academy. The 5th one is instructional materials to help with learning recovery. And then you can see these things, the next 5 items here had less support or less priority from those that responded to the survey, and they included things like technology, family engagement activities, professional learning for teachers, cleaning supplies, sanitation, and virtual instruction. So this input was very valuable and very helpful as we reviewed it with the various committees and the different groups. We spent time last week sharing this with the TLT group again. We reviewed it, and we had our student leadership also a part of that meeting to provide really valuable input. And I know the TLT committee appreciated the input from the students as they spoke to what they're really seeing. And again, it's supporting students. We heard things like tutoring, additional time, additional resources for them to be able to learn content as they're proceeding through. So this was also presented to the Finance and Operations Committee. I gave an overview at that committee last week. Our teacher leaders in the TLT department had an opportunity to review this and provide input to the administration on allocation of funds and prioritization. And again, tonight's presentation. So really the intent for this evening is to have some dialogue and input, which is meaningful both from the board and also from our community to make sure that we have that input. And we've seen from where we are, from the survey, but definitely open to other thoughts. As we go forward, the cabinet team and COAT will review the input from the various groups, including tonight's meeting, and we'll be developing recommendations for the plan to be submitted by February 15th. So with that, I'm happy to take any questions or have any dialogue that is appropriate or necessary as we proceed forward with the allocation of these funds.
What is my question? Submission date is February 15th. Do you anticipate a response, or what happens after we submit?
Yeah, when we submit, we'll put together a budget and a plan for how the funds will be spent. And it's similar to a process we use for other federal grants. So that process goes in, it'll be reviewed, make sure that it's allowable and aligns with the program expectations, and then we'll be able to move forward from there.
And follow up to that, is there a timeline in which the funds need to be spent?
There is. It's September 2023. Thank you. I had to look to Ms. Bjorkman in the audience to confirm that. Yeah. Correct.
Laura.
So at the TLT meeting, we asked the students to tell us specifically with those, I'm going to look and tell you specifically which ones, with the top 2 areas, the staff to help with learning loss and the social emotional support. We asked for them to talk to us about what does that actually look like to them, and can they describe what they're specifically looking for. And I think it was interesting to hear as it related, to staff to help, is they feel like they need some one-on-one support. And then the social emotional, they felt like they just need somebody to talk to and an opportunity to open up. And they feel like our counselors are a little overwhelmed. So maybe that somebody is somebody other than the counselors who already have a lot to do. So it was interesting just to hear their perspective. And I appreciate that they were willing to be so open with us and really give us an idea of what this looks like for them, because I think that's important for us to hear.
Any other comments?
No,
Ms.
I'm just, I didn't take the survey, but the survey results as they are is certainly prioritized areas that I would think we should be looking at. I think the survey was right on.
One thing I would encourage you is to reach out to Oakland County in regards to ARPA funds. There is an opportunity to double up the money or get extra money. They've set money aside for social and emotional well-being for public ed students, as well as what is it called? Delayed learning, not learning loss, but for those 2 categories.
President Carlson.
Mr. Weissman.
Yeah, just a quick question. I know that, in social media and television, newspapers, have talked about this portion of funds that we're receiving, and there seems to be a wide variance as it relates to how much each school district gets. And you addressed it in that it's allocated to Huron Valley based on a Title I formula. Could you explain that? Why do some districts receive so much more than Huron Valley?
Yeah. So the Title I formula is based largely on the socioeconomic status and level of poverty that exists within the district. And so, that funding is allocated through that formula, that same formula. So the ESSER funds, when you looked across the state, districts that serve communities that have greater amount of poverty, we saw a greater amount of funding through this program.
So the rationale is the higher degree of poverty, the greater need out there. I would disagree with that in some sense, that it would be nice that it was funded on a per pupil basis because the needs are so much different. And just because you might have be economically disadvantaged doesn't mean that you're not feeling the same pressures and the same needs as Mrs. Dodd just talked about as it relates to social engagement. So I know that there's not much we can do about it, but at the same time, it's unfortunate that our legislators didn't take a different look at this and come up with a different type of formula that represents the needs of all students. So, thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, and that was for informational item tonight. Thank you, Mr. Vernier. All right, we'll now move to item C, Board Policy 5127.
So Board Policy 5127 is the graduation requirements, and a few meetings ago, the board took action to pass a resolution for the class of 2022, and it was related to Board Policy 5127. As part of that review, the TLT committee and TLT department noted some changes that were appropriate within Board Policy 5127. And so those are presented tonight as a first read. And specifically, it's recommended that the ELA courses match the high school course catalog, which is posted on our website and, our students and families and counselors use as they review and select courses. And so in our course catalog, it specifically lists that ELA 9, ELA 10, ELA 11, and our senior English class cover the content expectations as required under the Michigan Merit Curriculum. And so that's the course sequence that's required for students to be eligible for graduation. So we wanted to note that so that there was alignment between our course catalog, our course sequencing, and what's in our board policy. And then the second recommendation that you see before you is specifically in the science. You'll notice that there's some language in there that has expired as it relates to class of 2020 and 2021 and the course sequencing that was required for those students now having graduated. We felt that it was appropriate to strike that language to clean up the policy further there. So those are the two changes that are being recommended. It's under the language arts courses and then the science course sequencing. Again, this is just a presentation, just an item for discussion this evening, and then we would bring this back under unfinished business for board action.
I don't see any need unless somebody wants to deliberate longer that we wouldn't just move ahead with this and approve this evening. So I'll entertain a motion. Ms. Dodd.
I'll move that we approve the language change for Board Policy 5127.
That's a great motion.
I'll second that.
Ms. Pastana, second that. All right. Any other questions or comments? Seeing none. Oh, Mr. Weissman.
Yes, TLT has gone through this. It's been presented. You've asked questions, and it's been recommended by TLT to the rest of the board, correct?
Yes, we jokingly call this our favorite board policy because we have looked at it and looked at it and looked at it, and every time we look at it, we find something new. So yes, this is it. And then earlier when I was reading the TLT minutes, the other thing we're looking at in this that we're not voting on this evening, but we're looking at is that 0.5 physical education credit with an asterisk next to it. We want to make sure that that asterisk has some meaning and definition. Right now, it's sort of on a case-by-case basis, and we want to make sure that whatever works for the physical education requirement is clearly listed. That will come later. Tonight, we're just talking about the science, eliminating the old language from the science, and making sure the sequencing of the ELA classes is appropriate.
So if we approve this, it's good to hear that you have other things on your plate to fill.
We'll see 5127 again.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're not done with this one.
You're not done with this?
Nope.
Okay. I just want to make sure that TLT has a full agenda.
Sure do.
Okay, very good.
Okay, we'll move for a roll call vote.
Thank you. Mrs. Dodd?
Yes.
Mrs. Pastana?
Yes.
Ms. Cotter is an overwhelming yes. Mr. Wiseman?
Yes.
Ms. Forrest?
Yes.
And Mr. Carlson?
Yes.
Thank you.
Resolution passes. We'll now move to vacant land offer, item D. Is that Mr. Van Gotham?
Yes, thank you, Board President. So if you recall, the district in fiscal year end 6/30/18 identified 3 large vacant properties as available for sale. All properties have since been sold with the exception of property at Hickory Ridge and Wardlow Roads, 10 acres to be exact. The district has always made these available for sale as it did not intend on utilizing the property for district use going forward. We had been offered a dollar amount that has since been updated. So we had asked, after a result of conversation, not only executive committee, but also finance and operations, that the 2 people who had provided us offers in the past 6 to 8 months be provided a best and final offer. I'm happy to report that both of those offers did come back more generous than original offers had been made. And so we have for us this evening a best and final offer of $143,899 from a taxpayer in the community. We are not looking for an approval of sale this evening, but merely wanted to update the board that through our best and final offer process, we were able to generate an additional $13,899 from one of the people who had bid on this piece of land. So again, we just wanted to bring this as an informational piece, but it will be the district's recommendation, or at least administration, at the March 7th board meeting that we, asked the board to approve the remaining land for sale and have that approved. Thank you.
Any questions or comments? My question is if this property is sold, the proceeds go in our general fund dollars?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Mr. Weissman?
Yeah, just a clarification. The Board of Education, through their action, declared a number of properties surplus. This was one of them. And at that point in time, we received an offer, but it was substantially less than what's on the table now, correct?
Yeah, so it was approximately 2 years ago, at least, if not 3. We initially received $50,000 for said property. So within the less than 2 years, or about 2 years, we've come close to tripling that offer with what we have available for us this evening.
And the offer that's on the table right now exceeds what the appraisal of that property was 2 years ago.
Correct.
Significantly.
So the district has consulted with Great Northern Consulting. They've been our property consultant, if you will, on all of this available land, and they think that this $143,899 is very reasonable for the 10 acres we have remaining.
And it's that property is zoned. I'm not sure what the
It's
zoning is,
basically
but
zoned
suburban farm, where it's
suburban
10
farm.
acres, but only two at the most, only 2 homesteads could be built on that 5 acres apiece, correct?
Correct. So we have 2 different 5-acre parcels. The most that could be constructed is 1 single family home on each of those.
In being a public entity, the purchase agreement itself could not have a deed restriction requiring them to either keep it vacant or not to rezone it in the future if they so wish.
Correct. From our understanding, this is actually a homeowner near the property who would prefer to keep this as green space. And so that's their intention at this point, but you are correct in that we would not write a deed restriction. We could possibly discuss a separate agreement with the homeowner if we chose to do so, but in selling the property, we cannot force said buyer to not build on it.
And the other offer has been brought forward by the developer who had purchased other properties and has either cleared land or begun construction for residential.
Correct, yes. The two large parcels we had available for sale were near our Spring Mills campus and our campus right here where we're at this evening.
Just south of here.
Just south of here, yes. So those two have been sold to a land developer, and the property here has already been cleared, and our expectations is they would start putting up some homes here in the next couple months once the weather breaks. And then the Spring Mills property will be cleared this summer for construction, most likely, I would think, in the summer of 2023.
And hopefully have some school-age students living there.
That was part of the dream.
Right. Well, keep dreaming. I think it'll be a reality.
Can't have covenants that run with.
That's right. Thank you for answering my questions, Jeffrey.
Any other questions for Mr. Van Gotham? Okay. All right. We will now move to public comments, non-agenda items. I'll just remind those wishing to make public comments this evening. You're welcome to the podium. Please, my left, your right is where there's stairs that go into the well. Please don't come up the aisle on my right, your left. First up is Miss Mills, who resides in our school district. Topic to be discussed is curriculum. You'll have 3 minutes.
There we go. Jonas watches as his father weighs the twins, then gently injects something into a vein in the smaller one's head. The new child twitches and lies still, and Jonas realizes that it is dead. Horrified, he watches his father place the body in a garbage chute and wave goodbye. The bullet made a diagonal tunnel through Lincoln's brain. The wet brain matter slowed the ball's speed, absorbing enough of its energy to prevent it from exiting the other side of the skull through the president's face. The ball came to rest in Lincoln's brain behind his right eye. The blade slashed open Seward's cheek so viciously that the skin hung from a flap, exposing his teeth and fractured jawbone. His cheek resembled a fish gill. These are excerpts from several books that are mandatory reading for our middle schoolers in Huron Valley schools. I would like someone to explain to me why Huron Valley schools insist on stealing our children's innocence and youth. The books chosen for our children to read have a sad, sinister, horribly graphic description of our world, leaving our children with no choice but to grow up numb to the evils of the world and struggling to find the joy. What happened to reading the classics? What is wrong with allowing our children to find the joy in life? Another topic. I wanted to talk about a recent assignment in 8th grade ELA providing information to the class about the Bill of Rights. The assignment provided some facts about 5 landmark cases brought before the Supreme Court that have shaped our understanding of the rights provided to us in the Constitution. The assignment, a video assignment found on the internet, provided the facts, and then the Supreme Court decision. The next step was for the students to provide their opinion. Did they agree or disagree with the decision made by the Supreme Court? Why are we collecting the opinions of our 8th graders? How is the information going to be used by Huron Valley schools? Does a student that expresses an opinion that is in line with his teacher's opinion get a better grade than a dissenting opinion? The assignment asks our students to second guess our Supreme Court justices, arguably some of the smartest people in our country. No 8th grader in this country is qualified to debate a Supreme Court justice on the constitutionality of any topic. My hope is that someday my child is qualified to have this debate, But in order for her to get to that point, it is your responsibility to teach her to think critically, understand both sides of an argument, and find validity and fault in both arguments, not to rant about her opinions. Finally, 5 days after the snowstorm, and the sidewalks at the schools aren't plowed yet, aren't cleared for the kids to walk on. I noticed that the sidewalks at the administration building have been cleared and are salted very nicely.
Thank you, Ms. Mills. Caitlin Mills will be next.
Cloth masks, which are often made of materials like cotton, don't do much to protect you from inhaling particles that carry the virus. This is a quote from the Cleveland Clinic. My name is Caitlin Mills, and I'm an 8th grader at White Lake Middle School. The mask mandate has been very difficult for each and every one, but it has been even more difficult for me as a deaf person. I'm not sure if I'm the only one in this district that has a CI, but as far as I know, I am. Of course, I use the Roger for teachers to wear, and I can hear them fine using the technology. Without the Roger, in my perception, I can't hear well enough with the person I'm talking to. I hate to ask them to repeat what they've said, as they often get frustrated and when forced to repeat what they just said. Under the mandate, people are allowed to pull down their masks so I can hear them better. But they don't, even when I ask. Especially the kids, because they are afraid to get in trouble. And boy, do we get in trouble a lot. These last 2 years have been a struggle for me, and making new friends and keeping old friends have been hard because of all of these problems. I'm currently in the school junior play, and I can barely breathe just after singing one line. I'm sure I'm not the only one who is struggling with the mask mandate. I am very scared about doing public speeches, but this topic is very important to me, enough so that I'm speaking tonight. I'm asking tonight that the mask mandate be removed so we can make a choice and so I can have the education I'm supposed to. And I repeat, the Cleveland Clinic says that masks don't work. So why do we still have this mandate? Thank you.
Thank you, Caitlin. Jeannie Durham, who resides in Huron Valley, and the item is COVID. Is Jeannie Durham here? Oh, okay, thank you. And after her will be David Vella. Mr. Vella, can you make your way so that you're
May I have 4 minutes if needed, please?
3 minutes is the time allotted for everyone. And I'd ask you to make sure that we have civil discourse in our comments.
Oh,
Thank you.
absolutely. So this nonsense of the mandatory masking of our children is an utter disgrace, and you should all be ashamed of yourselves. You have decided that our children are to be muzzled. Why is that? Because you were told to do so? Just following orders? Where is the supporting data that justifies this decision? Is masking our children a condition of the millions of dollars in ESSER funds that you have received? You are proof that civics is no longer respected in our public school system. You are blatantly violating our civil rights, and it seems that you are willfully ignorant of the Constitution of the United States of America. Who exactly do you think you are? Well, let me remind you, you work for us. You were elected by us, the voting citizens. You are our voice. You answer to us. But it seems that your puppet masters have offered you a more lucrative deal at the expense of our children. At this point in the game, you cannot claim ignorance of the legitimate data regarding masks and vaccines. So I can only come to the conclusion that your motivations are self-serving, financially based, and clearly political. This will all eventually come to an end. Those who have violated our rights will be held accountable. I highly suggest that you follow and watch Grand Jury, the Court of Public Opinion, that is being presented by Reiner Fulmich and many other prominent attorneys from around the world. They are enacting a grand jury investigation to provide a model for legal proceedings proceedings to the citizens against world leaders, instigators, and accomplices. Eventually, everyone complicit in this global genocide will be held accountable. And that means all of you. You really seriously need to watch this and follow along with it, because it's not going to end well. It really isn't. And many of you are probably really good people, but you're making the wrong decisions right now, not only for our children, but for yourselves. So I will close with that and wish you all luck. Thank you.
Thank you. David Bella. Next up will be Shana Levin.
Good evening. My name is Dr. David Vella, and I'm a resident of Huron Valley School District. Thank you for allowing me to speak to you again. I would appreciate approximately 4 minutes of your time, which was allowed previously. I'll try to speed up. I'm happy to report a growing number of the community are learning about psychological phenomenon of mass formation and taking action to protect themselves from it. The next school district successfully to rescind the detrimental policies of the COVID-19 mass formation, including the mask mandate, is Swan Valley. All that is needed to treat mass formation illness is a simple awareness of the phenomenon itself. Thank you for allowing me to shed more light on this fascinating subject. Mass is the psychological term for group or crowd, and formation is the ideology to which members of a group bond under very specific conditions. Mass formation is not a new illness, but actually an age-old human affliction. In its adaptive form, it can be beneficial to the group. However, in its maladaptive form, it always results in devastation. It is actually the most deadly illness known, as it is the cause of numerous genocides, including the Holocaust. The elucidation of mass formation is the result of approximately 200 years of psychological research. After the Holocaust, the research intensified in order to understand how a well-educated society such as Germany could devolve and commit such atrocities against Jews and other members of its citizenry. The culmination of this research has resulted in a clear understanding of the pathology, signs, symptoms, diagnosis, and treatment of mass formation. World-leading psychological researchers have been lecturing on this subject for years. These experts, along with leading medical researchers, now conclude that the world is deeply affected by a mass formation, which is the COVID-19 hysteria. A key pathologic feature of mass formation is that it will always suppress any counter-narrative. This has resulted in unprecedented scientific censorship that we have witnessed over the past 2 years. The true nature of the formation must actually remain hidden from the mass in order to grow and metastasize throughout the population. Those who demonstrate their allegiance to the formation by participating in the rituals such as masking find it difficult to acknowledge the collateral damage to the mandated policies to which they adhere, However, increasingly, the community is becoming aware of the COVID-19 formation. They now understand why their healthy children who are negligible risk continue to be subjected to harmful COVID policies, even when the virus is endemic through 3 winters and numerous mutations. Just 4 days ago, Walled Lake Citizens for Parental Rights, PAC, announced legal action, and at that meeting, one board member revealed that no discussion of the mask mandate was allowed when the policy was instituted. Increasingly, members of the community who are open-minded and learning about mass formation understand.
Thank you, Mr. Bello. Ms. Levin. Ms. Levin does not reside in Huron Valley, but she does have her kids in Huron Valley.
I do, and I thank you for that opportunity. This evening, I have some recordings I wanted to play of children who couldn't be here because they were uncomfortable speaking. So hopefully this works.
Hi, I'm a 3rd grader at Havens Elementary School. I don't like wearing a mask because it's hard to breathe out of, and when I'm wearing my glasses, it gets all fogged up. I need my glasses and I can't see with the fog. When you're breathing in the mask, it's a very heavy breathing. I wish we didn't have to wear a mask so I could see my friends smiling. It's like, it's too hot. I feel like I passed out. So, I just feel too hot when I'm wearing a mask and it is, like too hot and I can't breathe out. Yeah, they suck because it's like a death trap for your breathing and I can't even hear what the teacher's saying.
Tyson, what do you think of having to wear masks at school?
They're disgusting and I need to breathe and I hope the masks are gone and they're so bad I want to throw them in the trash.
Well, what do you think of wearing masks at school?
They're terrible. I get headaches. When I try to get fresh air, I get yelled at by my teacher, and I can barely breathe. I don't like wearing a mask. I can't breathe in that thing.
And what do you think of wearing masks?
I do not like hit my ears, and I already had COVID in it. And what's the difference? I don't like wearing masks because it's hard to make friends, it's hard to see in my glasses, and it gives me headaches. I don't like to wear masks because it's hard to breathe and your glasses will fog up. And it's hard to see your friends. I also don't like to wear masks because you're just breathing in your germs that you've already breathing out. And if you don't take your mask down and take a bite and pull it back up and chew and do that repeatedly, then you can get recess taken away. I want to be homeschooled because wearing a mask, and I don't like wearing masks because they make it harder to breathe.
Thank you.
Thank you. Miss Moyer, and then Miss Puska. Brenda. Angela Moyer is a resident of White Lake.
Good evening. My name is Angela Moyer. I have 3 children in Huron Valley schools being directly impacted by this school board's decisions, inaction, and lack of courage to take responsibility for the best interest of our children with regards to unconstitutional and politicized mask mandates. I am here today so you may hear just a few minutes straight from the remaining children and pray that this does not continue to fall on deaf ears.
I didn't want to wear them because they were giving me headaches when I was on the bus when I came home. And all my other friends didn't want to wear them either, I noticed, because they didn't like them.
Did they say why?
They didn't say why, but when they came home, they also started headaches.
So, I feel like wearing the mask feels hard to breathe. I don't like wearing masks because it gives me sores, and it adds a headache. I don't like wearing masks because I can't tell what my friends and teachers are saying, and it's hard to breathe in, and it gives me headaches.
Thank you.
Thank you. Brenda? Who resides in Huron Valley School District.
Sure do. Here's a fun fact about me. I have a degree in sociology. I want to comment about two things today. I think Ms. Dodd actually commented about the socio-emotional impact and what we're going to do with the ESSER funds with the children. Whatever we decide, and I know that this is not going to happen tomorrow, we must consider that these people, these kids are already saying that what they really need is the one-on-one. I'm going to throw this out there. We're not going to accomplish much with the kids being in masks. I can tell you that when I talked to the girl that I mentor at Oak Valley, we were both masked, and I'm doing my best to talk to her and counsel her through things with her eyes. And I love that I've known her for 3 years, and I feel like I'm doing the best job I can, but I can only communicate so much with my eyes. It's really impacting things. Sorry. It will be a waste of money if we don't consider these things. How are we really going to address social and emotional well-being of our kids? We can't even see their faces. Just let that sink in. I'm actually sure you guys do think about that. Some of you guys have parents that send little kids to school that have masks on. You probably go home and think about it all the time. You probably wonder why you live in a county that makes us do these things. I'm so overwhelmed by this, I can't even talk about what else I want to talk about. I do think you need courage and bravery. Some of you have more pull, I believe. A lot of parents have been calling the county about this mandate and not getting anywhere. I think that sometimes it's time to take a stand and call the people that made this happen and talk about these things. There's so many parents that feel the same way, and we're on this side and we're on this side. We all need to come together. It's really hard to come together, but we can't go on like this. I don't want to send my child to Milford High School next year as a 9th grader in a mask. He's literally going to be in a building that he doesn't really know much about, but he wants to go there so darn bad. And I don't know what it's going to look like to plop him into school with not a lot of friends, because most of his friends are going to Lakeland, and to really not know anybody, not know the teachers, not recognize anyone, and you're going to navigate with your eyes and only see your eyes. It's not acceptable. I just expect more. I hope you guys consider it. Think outside the box. Do something different. Be brave. Stand up for us. Stand up for the kids. And I just want to say thank you.
Thank you, Brenda. Then our last speaker for public comment on non-agenda items is Melissa Thurston. And she lives in Swan Valley, so she is not a Huron Valley School District, but I would invite her up to the podium.
I
The 3 minutes, 3 minutes is the time this evening. You're welcome to the podium for three minutes.
So could I get that restarted, please?
Let's just go ahead and restart the 3 minutes.
I appreciate that.
And then if
Thank
you have information you want to share, you can certainly send it to me.
Yes, I've got packets that will be delivered. My name's Melissa. I'm a concerned citizen and parent of 3. I am also a registered nurse of almost 10 years now, working mostly in the ICU during the pandemic. I've seen and experienced a lot that most people have not. When caring for patients, COVID patients in the hospital, we are required to wear N95s, controlled air purifying respirators, or powered air purifying respirators, which filter 95% and 99.97% of airborne particles, respectively. Scientific evidence shows that SARS-CoV-2 particles are mostly small aerosols. Because of this, actual respirators must be worn to provide adequate protection, not cloth and paper masks, which I will refer to as masks, that only provide protection against droplets. Aerosolized pathogens are very small particles that take a very long time to fall in still air, days in fact, as opposed to droplets which fall in minutes. The virus is about 400,000 times smaller in area and about 1,000 times smaller in diameter than just a single strand of human hair. So if you can slide one piece of your hair anywhere between your mask and your face, you are not protected. Respirators form a tight seal and require fit testing and medical clearance per OSHA standards. Masks do not form a seal at all, which is why we are not allowed to wear them in COVID rooms. The good news is that there are mitigation strategies that, based on expert review and science, are proven to effectively clean and rid the air of this virus and other disease-causing pathogens. I'd like to also mention that the guidelines by the health department that schools say they are following are not the law, and also they are not the experts in the field of exposure controls. The experts in this field are industrial hygienists. I truly cannot understand why schools are not taking some of their federal ESSER funding to hire an industrial hygienist to come in and complete a health assessment survey and offer proven solutions to keep their staff and students safer. They follow the hierarchy of controls, proven science, to minimize exposure to hazards, to protect and optimize the health and safety of people in their communities and at work, school, etc. If you followed the hierarchy of controls, you would have reached engineering controls far before reaching masks, which actually don't even make it onto the chart because they are not considered appropriate PPE. Effective engineering controls provide 6 to 12 air exchanges per hour, resulting in a relative risk reduction of 95 to 99.9%. Masks provide approximately just a 10% relative risk reduction. Implementing engineering controls is easily possible and is being done all over, including on airplanes, hospitals, and schools. Many schools have already done this, including Harper Creek schools and recently my own very own school district, who utilized their ESSER funds to purchase the systems. There are multiple different filtration systems available to mitigate the spread of these pathogens. Because of these systems' proven effectiveness to filter out viruses and other contaminants, their children are no longer mandated to wear masks, but may, of course, wear them if they choose to. You have everything to gain and nothing to lose by doing this. We, the parents, are asking that you do the right thing, what you were nominated in your positions to do, and listen to us, review the data and options presented to you, and get back to the community with a plan of action ASAP.
Thank you, Melissa. I appreciate it. Thank you. That concludes our public comment for non-agenda items. We'll move to good and welfare. Ms. Dodd.
The Kids Heart Challenge that many of our elementary kids are participating in right now is happening this Saturday, February 12th at Milford High School. I want to express my gratitude to all of the children and families and staff who've taken on this challenge of raising this funds for children with heart struggles. I have a family member who was born with a heart defect, had multiple open heart surgeries, and now is a college graduate. We didn't think that would happen for him. And the work of the Heart Association and the research and all of the work they've done has made his life possible. So I personally am very incredibly grateful to all of the families and the kids who are raising funds to help do more research to help keep their peers alive. So thanks to everybody for doing that, and to Huron Valley Schools for making this a priority for our elementary kids.
Thank you. Ms. Pastana.
I just want to take the opportunity to thank the team at Apollo. I know that my congratulations to them for being voted best in the West for childcare in our area. So congratulations to all of them.
Well, thank you for that. Ms. Forrest.
Yes, just a reminder that Milford High School art students, both general ed and special ed, are exhibiting their artwork at Huron Valley Council for the Arts up in Highland from now through February 19th. You can go on huronvalleyarts.org for more information and their hours. I know they're open every Saturday. Thank you.
Any other good and welfare? Seeing none, we'll now move to, if I can get a motion for closed session to review a legal memo from Kevin Sutton, our attorney.
I'll move that we go to closed session to review a legal memo from Mr. Sutton.
And I'll support that.
All right. All right. We'll go ahead and go for a roll call vote.
Thank you. Mrs. Dodd?
Yes.
Ms. Cotter is a yes. Mr. Wiseman?
Yes.
Mrs. Forrest?
Yes.
Mrs. Pastana?
Yes.
And Mr. Carlson?
Yes. We'll now move to closed session.